Well, hello there, challengees, and welcome to the Always Better Challenge Show, the show designed to help you take steps today that lead to a better and happier tomorrow. I'm your humble host, Joe Bedford, and as always, I start off the show by asking for three favors. The first favor is I'm asking you to please consider subscribing to the show if you have not done so already. The second favor is that I'm asking you to consider signing up for our free daily motivational emails, which also include a link to the most recent episodes of the show. And you can do that at our website, which is abetterchallenge.com. And the third favor is that if you are a podcast listener, I'm asking you to please consider rating and reviewing the podcast. This helps give the show more exposure, helps me to reach and hopefully help a wider audience. So thank you very much for considering that, and I hope you will do all those things, please. So as always, we're going to start off today with our quote, which is also our topic introduction. And our quote today comes from Marie Kondo. And Marie says, "The objective of cleaning is not just to clean, but to feel happiness living within that environment." So yes, today we are going to talk about cleaning. We are going to talk more specifically how to clean your home in a quick and efficient manner. And I guess it's somewhat surprising that it took me this long to think of this as a topic for the show, given that I owned a house cleaning business for over 10 years. But yes, I do know one or two things about the most efficient and the most time efficient ways to clean your home. So I'm going to give you some tips about that today. Cleaning is a funny thing. It's, were we ever really taught how to clean, really? I mean, in a real systematic way, or is it just something we cobbled together over the years? So often I think that's the case. And, true, it's not rocket science, but I think I might present some ideas to you today that maybe you just hadn't thought of before. And I guarantee you that these are things that are going to help you clean your home in, get the best results in the least amount of time, which obviously is the goal. And I guess the one other point I want to make before we get into this, and again, sort of talking my own game here, but, you don't necessarily have to clean your home yourself. You can hire it out if it makes sense for you to do that. And if it does make sense for you to do that, I certainly encourage you to do that. If you're in a financial place where that makes sense, or even if money is maybe not that loose, but if you think about the value of your time and look at that part of the equation. How much money could you make in that time that you're cleaning the house? Now you might say, well, I work a job. I'm not making money sitting at home, and maybe not. So maybe that applies more to those who have their own business kind of thing. But the other point that I would still make is, what if you used that time to invest back into yourself, back into your own personal development, doing things like watching or listening to this show and, reading and working on yourself? Would that time be better spent doing that than cleaning the house? Maybe it would be. Now if you're going to take the house cleaning time and binge on Netflix, maybe you're not going to get at least the financial reward there or the real benefit of moving your life forward on that. But that's something to think about. Remember that hiring it out is always, well, I shouldn't say it's always an option, but for some folks it's an option. If it makes sense for you, certainly you can consider doing that. But for the purpose of today's show, we're going to assume that no, you are cleaning your house yourself. So like so many things, the first thing that we need to look at here is we need to make sure that we have the right tools for the job. And I've got some tools that I consider, mandatory or must-have tools, and then a few more that are optional. And I'll bet right here from the start, you're going to get some ideas. I'll bet you that most of you are not using all of these tools and maybe hadn't even thought of using them. So, and we're going to hit it right off the bat with our very first tool, which is I consider it a mandatory tool that you have some sort of caddy, a handheld caddy that you can carry around so that you can carry your cleaning supplies with you. Well, first of all, it gives you one place to keep them as well. and then you're able to carry them around with you as you are cleaning the house. The one theme that we're going to revisit over and over in this is that we do not want to waste time. This isn't about, I'm talking about cleaning your home quickly. I'm certainly not talking about rushing through and doing a haphazard job, quite the contrary. But what I am talking about doing is that we want to do it in the least amount of time possible. And so what that means is we do not want to waste time. And having a cleaning caddy is going to do so much toward that. First of all, you don't have to gather up the cleaning supplies from all over the house. You got them in one spot, you go get them, and you got them. And then you're going to carry those with you as you clean, so you don't have to go looking for stuff or getting stuff or retrieving stuff. Our goal is to take as few steps as possible and to waste, as I say, as little time and as few motions as possible. So that's one of the ways that we're going to save time on this. So yes, I consider a cleaning caddy to be an essential piece of equipment. The next piece of equipment that, again, I'll bet most folks don't use, and again, I consider this mandatory for pretty much the same reasons as the cleaning caddy, is I say that you need a cleaning apron. And the purpose of the apron, you want an apron, of course, that you can fasten around your waist. First of all, it's going to keep you a little bit cleaner as you clean. But the main purpose is you want one with a loop on each side. And what you're going to use those loops for are to keep your most commonly used cleaning products at hand. And I'm jumping a little ahead here. Well, I'll tell you in a minute what products those are when I get to those. And some of your tools as well. So those are going to be in your apron. Those are going to be on your person. And that is definitely going to help you save time. Your next tool is you need some sort of general purpose cleaner / degreaser. And you do want to make sure that this is food safe because you are going to be using this on your kitchen surfaces as well as other areas of the house. There are plenty of good ones out there. In the past, I've used 409. Fantastic is okay. The one I wasn't so crazy about, what is it called? Greased Lightning. And I can't even remember now, honestly, what it was about that one I didn't like. Maybe it was a little caustic or fumes, can't remember. But anyway, not so big a fan of that one. The one that I'm using these days is called Method. You've probably seen that in the grocery stores, and I like that. Smells good, works pretty well. But some sort of general purpose cleaner degreaser. And as I alluded to a moment ago with your apron, that's going to go on one of your apron loops. I keep it on my right-hand apron loop because I'm right-handed, and that general purpose cleaner, not surprisingly, is the one you're going to be using the most. Excuse me, your next essential tool, or actually this is another essential cleaning product, is you need some sort of glass cleaner. I keep my glass cleaner on my left-hand belt loop or apron loop so that I always have those two products with me since I'm using those so common. I don't have any particular preference as to glass cleaner. I've found that I usually just get the generic version, seems to do just as well as anything else. The one little tip that I'll throw in here with glass cleaning is that you want to make sure that you have a quite dry rag that you're using when you're doing the glass cleaning. More important than it is for just general purpose cleaning. That rag, you can let it get a little wetter before you move on to a new rag. But for glass cleaning, to avoid streaking and whatnot, you do want it to be fairly dry. As a matter of fact, a lot of times, and again, I'm getting ahead here talking about cleaning rags, which is another essential tool, but I'll usually carry two with me. I'll sort of keep one in an apron pocket, and that's my glass cleaner, and so that's the drier one, and then I'll keep the other one thrown over my shoulder where I can grab it really quickly when I need it, and that one, as I said, can get a little wetter. And then what I do when I'm ready to discard this one, I'll bring the glass cleaner one up, because remember, it's drier. I'll throw it over my shoulder. It's my new wet cleaning rag, and then I'll get a fresh rag for my glass cleaning rag. The next essential tool that I consider essential is a scrub sponge. I believe, is it Scotch Brite? I believe is the brand I get. But again, they're all good. It seems, and I should have looked this up before the episode, because it seems like there's different colors that mean different things. Like I think the green ones are more for oven cleaning, and they're a little rougher, so you don't want the green ones. The ones I get are blue, and I believe that's for mild, that's a mild scrub sponge. It's got a sponge on one side and a scrub pad on the other. And actually the scrub pad is pretty much what you're going to be using for cleaning. And probably mostly going to be used in the kitchen, a little bit in the bathroom. You probably won't be using that too many other areas. And that's basically going to be to, sort of abrade, debris, to loosen any debris that you're not able to clean with just using a general purpose cleaner and a cleaning cloth. So scrub sponge is a necessary tool. Cleaning rags, I've already established that is a necessary tool, and I do use reusable rags. The ones that I use are actually napkins. They're actually cloth napkins. I've just found that those work really well. They just work really well. And just as sort of an aside here that just popped into my mind is that when you wash your cleaning rags, you do not want to use any sort of fabric softener on those. That will actually make those less effective. Another thing is if you get brand new cotton cleaning cloths, don't be concerned if they don't seem to work great right off the bat. There almost is like a breaking in process, and they will work much better over time. I'm talking about the absorption when I say work better. So you need cleaning rags. You also need, in my opinion, the thing that I've found works best is a microfiber cloth, and that's used primarily for dusting. I found that that's a great tool for dusting, and I'll get into this a little bit more in a moment. We're not actually using any sort of cleaning product with the microfiber cloth. We're just using it dry for dusting. A feather duster, I'm going to put that in the mandatory category as well. We could argue that one could be optional. Maybe it belongs in the optional category, but when we get into the dusting category, I'll talk more about how to use the feather duster and when to use it. Another tool that I consider mandatory that I think a lot of folks maybe don't use or on a regular basis for cleaning is a razor scraper, one of those things that holds a razor blade where you can hold it by the hand and scrape things. This is obviously not a tool you're going to use tons, but there are some uses for it. One that's going to panic folks when I say this, and I'm going to get into this in more detail when we talk about cleaning the kitchen, but I do use this on the glass ceramic type stove tops, and no, I've not damaged one. And the other time you might use it, this isn't so common anymore, but with ceramic tile, like in a shower, and obviously this is very tedious if you have to do this, but if you've got really bad soap scum that you can't get rid of any other way, that's one way to do it, is just to scrape it off with the razor scraper. And you'll find other uses for that as well. You do want to be careful using a razor scraper to avoid damage to a surface. First of all, sort of maybe test it out inconspicuously first, but you want the area that you're cleaning to be wet, and you also want to hold the razor at a not parallel to the surface, but pretty close to parallel. You don't want to have it jammed way up like this. That can gouge and whatnot. But if you've got it good and wet and you're almost parallel, that's going to be a good way to use the razor scraper. The next essential tool that you need is a vacuum cleaner. That's pretty obvious, but I'm going to have some more specific recommendations here, and these may surprise you. I do recommend a canister vacuum over an upright for several reasons. First of all, the canister vacuum head is going to be more maneuverable. You're going to be able to get it in more places. The upright is just not going to get in as many places, and obviously if you can't get the vacuum somewhere, it can't do anything. And with the canister type, you can get almost anywhere, especially considering it's easy to pop that attachment off really quick where you've just got the pole, and then you can get in all sorts of crevices and crannies with that. It's also, I think, much easier and better for stairs. And so, yes, I'm a huge fan of the canister type vacuum cleaner. Oh, and one other point is that you can use it to get cobwebs, and sometimes it's the only way you can get cobwebs, but you do want to be very, very careful with that, because obviously you're probably popping the attachment off and just using the pole, but just don't mar up your paint on the walls with the pole. But for those high cobwebs, that's a very good technique to use if you are careful. Next mandatory tool is some kind of mop, and the one that I definitely recommend is called a Shumop. It is a rectangular thing, and the covers, it takes like a terry cloth cover, and those are removable. I like this for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's big, so you can cover a lot of floor in a short period of time. The second thing I like about it is that since the covers are removable, you're never mopping the floor with dirty mop water, because what you do is you wet your cover, you put that on the mop, you mop until that one gets dirty, then you get a fresh one and put the fresh one on. So you're never putting a dirty mop in water. Your water stays clean and your mop stays clean, because once it gets dirty, you replace the cover. So I love, big fan of the Shimop. And of course, it goes without saying, I'm going to have links in the show notes to all these products that I'm specifically mentioning or recommending. And full disclosure, those will in all likelihood be affiliate links, which means that you will be supporting the show if you purchase through those links at no extra cost to you. Obviously you need toilet cleaner. The one I use is Lysol Cling, I believe what it's called. The kind that just, you sort of squirt it around the rim, you let it sit in there for a moment, and then you brush it with a toilet brush, which is the other thing you're going to need. That is another required tool. Toilet cleaner is the strongest cleaner that I use. And the reason I mention that is sometimes if you run into a really tough cleaning situation, you might want to use toilet cleaner if nothing else is getting it. Obviously, you want to be very careful with that. Make sure you're not going to damage the surface doing that. But like for example, like when I talked about before with the soap scum on the tile, sometimes toilet cleaner can be a good choice there. But again, please be careful. Be cognizant of things like that it could stain the grout or anything like that. So, always test inconspicuously is always the rule when you're cleaning something with an unfamiliar product. So please be sure to do that. Toilet cleaner and brush. Next mandatory tool is you need some sort of bathtub / shower cleaner. I'm using Scrubbing Bubbles nowadays. That seems to work pretty well. If you've got a ceramic tub situation and the Scrubbing Bubbles aren't cutting it, you can use scouring powder, which is another required tool or product that you want to have. The only thing I want to add, since we're... Never mind. I'll talk about that when we actually get into cleaning the bathroom. We'll talk about the more specifics on cleaning the shower and bathtub. Scouring powder, I've already said, is something you need. I don't have any particular recommendation there. I kind of think they're all the same. The one thing I will say is that I'm not a fan of Barkeeper's Friend. And that surprises a lot of folks because they're like, oh, I've heard of that, and that's supposed to be the greatest stuff. It arguably does clean better than scouring powder, but it is very, very caustic. And so, I do sort of a risk-reward thing there. I don't really like to use anything that's so caustic that I actually think it might be like bad for me to be using it. So that's my hesitation with the Barkeeper's Friend. That stuff is very caustic. And I'm actually jumping ahead here a little bit. I recommend trying to avoid using bleach, if at all possible, for the very same reason. Bleach is very caustic. The only time when you might want to have to use it is if you've got some sort of mold mildew situation in the bathroom, and really my advice there would be to try to avoid having that situation in the first place. Make sure you've got good ventilation, make sure you're using the ventilation when you take a shower or bath. And the advice that my wife hates is to actually, if possible, if you have the privacy, is to leave the bathroom door open when you take a shower or bath to really ventilate, because the mold and mildew is a sign that good ventilation is not happening, generally. One last tool that I consider mandatory is a cup. And now you may say, why do I need a cup? Well, the cup is going to be for rinsing. It's going to help you sometimes in the kitchen sink, sometimes in the bathroom, although I'm going to give you some tips there. And definitely the rinse cup comes in handy for the bathroom sink to rinse that out when you're done cleaning it. So a rinse cup. Next, I'm going to list some tools that I consider to be optional. My first one, I almost want to call this one mandatory, but you can get by without it. But boy, it comes in handy if you've got it. A toothbrush. Do you ever think about using a toothbrush when you clean, it can come in really handy. It's just so good at getting in little crevices that you can't get in otherwise. I don't know why the first one that pops in my mind is the buttons on the dishwasher. Those kind of get some grunge around them sometimes, and you can really get in there with the toothbrush and really loosen that up and get that loose. Maybe around some of your sink or bathroom, your kitchen sink or bathroom sink fixtures, the toothbrush can come in handy there as well. Like I say, that one almost is mandatory. You could live without it, but why would you? It's an easy thing to carry around, and I guarantee you start carrying it around when you're cleaning, you're going to find uses for it. You're going to be like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Next tool I'm considering mandatory is a plastic scraper. We already talked about the razor scraper. The plastic scraper is a nice thing to have for kind of the same thing for like loosening. You got like, why am I thinking of like pancake batter on the kitchen counter? It's good for, breaking that up and loosening that up. And obviously that's a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? Harsh, for want of a better way of putting it, than the razor scraper. So that would be kind of your first line of defense. Step it up to the razor scraper if you need to. And this is good advice, and this wasn't in my notes, but just sort of occurred to me, is that you want to use the right level of tool for the job. What I mean is you want to start with your mildest form of cleaning and then step it up from there. So an example would be, you got something on the counter, you want to see if you can get that just with a degreaser and a cloth. If that doesn't get it, you might want to step it up to the scrub sponge. If that doesn't get it, you might want to step it up to the plastic scraper. If that doesn't get it, you might want to step it up to the razor scraper. And you wouldn't necessarily have to go through all those steps. As you get more familiar with using these tools, you'll kind of see something and go, oh, I just need to go right to the plastic scraper. That's what that's going to take. And that's another way to save time, is to know which tool to use. Plastic scraper. Next optional, and I'm going to call this a product, is stainless steel cleaner. One of my things here is I try to avoid having specialized products, and I'm going to talk more about that as we go. And I think you could probably do without stainless steel cleaner. Most stainless steel, well, I don't know how to say most. Here's what I'm going to say, and this is controversial because I know stainless steel is so popular right now, but I hate it. I hate it because so much of it, there's different grades. And I've seen some that looks good and stays clean well, but so much of it seems to not ever look clean. You can clean it, and then as soon as it gets one little fingerprint on it, that fingerprint mark stays there, and it doesn't look good. And that's the thing with the stainless steel cleaner products, is that they seem to play right into that, is that, yeah, it's going to look great when you first clean it, and the first time it gets touched, it's not going to look good. So I try to use degreaser or even glass cleaner on the stainless steel before I'll use the specialized cleaner. If you've got the stainless steel and those ideas don't work, you might need to go to the stainless steel cleaner. But just know what I'm telling you is that it's not going to stay. It'll look good right after you clean it, and that's the only time it's going to look good. And that's why I don't like stainless steel. Sorry. A trash bag, and I'm calling that optional. And what I mean is just a small, actually more like a sandwich bag would be the way to do it, or to use. And I'm tucking this into a pocket in my apron. I do use this, and this is just for if you come across litter or trash or something like that. Again, so you don't have to waste a trip going to the trash can. You can just stick it in that little pocket and dump that when you're done. My final tool that I'm considering an optional tool is a whisk broom. Again, this is one that you might think you won't use until you have it, and then when you have it, you're going to find uses for it. Just thinking of times I use it. There's certain furniture. I've run into kitchen chairs and dining room chairs that have like a real fine pile to them. I don't know how else to describe it. A whisk broom makes that look so good. A whisk broom makes that look so good. I've actually got a settee in my house that's similar idea, and again, the whisk broom makes that look really good. So that's good for furniture, and you'll find other, like I say, nooks and crannies that you can get in with the whisk broom, and I believe you will find that useful. I've already talked about trying to avoid bleach. My next thing that may surprise you is that you may notice that I didn't say anything about having a disinfectant or using a disinfectant cleaner. And that is because, and I put this in the same category as bleach. Let me just put it to you this way. Disinfecting is a myth. And the products that are disinfectants, again, are more caustic. They're in my opinion, they're causing more harm than good. They're more likely to give you, a health problem from the caustic nature of the cleaner than they are to keep you from getting sick because you're using a disinfectant. Here's why disinfecting is a myth. Your home is not a sterile environment, okay? So you can disinfect all you want to. You're never, well, okay, there's so many things I could say here. Well, first of all, to really disinfect a surface, you have to put the disinfectant on there. You have to let it sit for like 10 minutes. Who uses it that way? Who does it that way? Nobody. So first of all, you're not even using the product correctly. Second of all, even if you do it, you're never going to kill 100% of anything because you're not in a sterile environment. So what are you going to do? You're going to kill 99% of it. And, we could even get into the argument about, and you're leaving behind the 1% that are the strongest and that are going to cause you the most problem. Here's the thing. You're never going to kill 100%. Yeah, you can kill most of them with a disinfectant that's caustic and may have health concerns. Or you can do what I do, which is you clean the surface thoroughly with a good cleaner degreaser. You clean it, and you want it to be dry as you can get it, and that's why you're using your cotton cleaning rags. And that is going to get almost as much. You're going to get like 99% of the stuff either way. And the other thing is that by cleaning using just a regular cleaner and cleaning it and drying it, you're making the surface hostile to the growth of microorganisms and germs and bad stuff. So no, I'm not a fan of the disinfecting. I've even read a quote from a doctor on this who said, she said basically what I just said. The health risks of that product that you're putting in the toilet bowl or wherever to kill those germs is the risk of the product is worse than the risk of the germs. And the other point she made is, the germs, well, and maybe I don't even need to get into this because I'm not an expert on this, but she said, the germs aren't going to jump out at you. I remember that phrase because that stuck in my mind that this doctor said. But anyway, I'm getting a little off on a tangent there. Yeah, not a big fan of disinfecting. Another thing some of you may be surprised on, especially the old schoolers, is, Joe, you didn't say anything about furniture polish. And this was something that I didn't really pick up on until I was running a house cleaning business. I find that furniture polish is an outdated thing. I'm not going to tell you, never use it or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you that our house cleaning business, we don't use furniture polish anymore. We dust, I believe I mentioned this previously, we dust with a microfiber cloth dry. If the surface is such that it needs something more, we would go back to our general purpose cleaner and we would use that. Lots of reasons why I think furniture polish is outdated. One is, and I wasn't aware of this until I had the business. Some furniture, they actually tell you not to use polish on it. So there's that, and especially when we're going in different houses, how would we know if the homeowner failed to tell us? The other thing is that I found that most of the furniture polishes, they actually attract dust. It always makes me wonder if it was a big marketing ploy. They tell you to use furniture polish, and it looks great when you use it, but then it's actually attracting the dust after you clean it. It's kind of like the stainless steel polish. It's like this self-perpetuating cycle almost. I do remember when I was younger that N-Dust, do they still make that? That one seemed to have less of the wax or whatever it was that seems to attract the dust, so that if you do use furniture polish, that might be the way to go. But yeah, we don't use it anymore. I think it's outmoded. I think it's outdated. So that's it for our tools. Boy, this is going to be a longer episode. You know what? I'm just going to go with it because I feel like this is valuable stuff. So yeah, we're going to be longer than 30 minutes today. Hope that's okay. So now we're going to get into tips and tricks and techniques and that good stuff. And my first tip that I want to mention is that I'm going to tell you, if at all possible, to clean your whole house at once. First of all, hopefully the tips and techniques that I'm sharing with you today are going to enable you to do that quicker than you were doing it before, so it won't take up that much time. I'm not a fan, you've probably heard some other gurus that say, for the busy lifestyle, tackle it, an hour a day or 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, clean, this room this day and this room this day and this room this day. I recommend against that. I recommend go ahead, bite the bullet, block the time out to do it, and get it done. Because for me, the main benefit, obviously, the health and cleanliness of living in a house, but if you just clean one room a day, you never have a clean house. The whole house is never clean. It's continuously dirty. And to me, there's just nothing like getting the whole house clean and you've got a nice, clean house to enjoy. So I'm recommending try to make that happen if at all possible. And like I say, hopefully the techniques I'm sharing with you today are going to help with that. Do it all at once. Enjoy the payoff of all your hard work in having a nice, clean, whole, entire house. How often should I clean the house? Well, that's up to you. I would say bi-weekly, every 2 weeks is probably a good way to go. You can do every week if you want to. You can do twice a week if you want to. It's taken more time. You're going to have a nice, cleaner house. I am going to say I would recommend don't go longer than 2 weeks. Again, this is just from my experience in running the house cleaning service business for so long. A lot of folks wanted to have their house cleaned once a month, and in my opinion, that's just not often enough for most anybody, honestly. So yeah, I'd say every 2 weeks is good. Maybe every, once a week if you really got the time and want to put the time into that, that could be better. The other good thing is the more often you clean, the less time it will probably take you to clean because it's not going to be as dirty. So, there's that. Another thing is, we're not talking about deep cleaning here. And honestly, I don't know if I'm even know what deep cleaning means. It probably means something different to other people. I mean, what's deep cleaning that you're not doing all the time? Inside the refrigerator, I guess. Cleaning the oven. Most people have self-cleaning ovens nowadays, don't they? Hopefully we're going to be doing a pretty thorough job, and I'm going to teach you, again, some tools and techniques. Hopefully we're going to be doing pretty thorough cleaning. I mean, I'm trying to think of things. Cleaning the drapes, like cleaning the upholstery on the furniture, like actually wet cleaning it somehow. Steam cleaning the carpets. Yeah, that's deep cleaning. So yeah, but anyways, just the point that I'm making is, we're talking about just regular every couple of weeks cleaning. So if I'm missing something that seems like a deep cleaning thing, that's why. And my other thing about not going, that monthly is too long, is you want to avoid getting any sort of staining happening, because that is going to make it take a lot longer when you do clean, and you may not even be able to get it clean. So yeah, that's just another point that I want to make. So how do most people clean? Well, I've already alluded to what we want to do is avoid wasting steps and avoid wasting motions. But that's how most people clean. They don't have a caddy, so they're running all over getting products, and then they're going to run all over while they're cleaning, getting whatever product it is that they need. And they're going to, and here's the other thing. When I say cleaning, are you talking about picking up? Picking up is not cleaning. Picking up is a completely separate activity. And I'm probably going to get some hate mail off of this, but my belief on that and what I try to do, and I do a pretty good job of this, and yes, I did this even when I had kids in the household, I'm kind of a believer that a place should always be picked up. It really should. You really should pick up as you go. So send me the hate mail, tell me why that's impossible or for you or whatever, but I've tried to live by that. That's worked pretty well for me. So yeah, you're not picking up, you're not doing the dishes, you're not doing any of that stuff. Cleaning is cleaning. Cleaning is cleaning. So so that's one thing that's going to help us stay on track. We're not cleaning, and then we're like, oh, here's somebody's socks, well, I got to run those up to the bedroom, and here, so that's the thing. Cleaning is cleaning. So focus on one thing, focus on that task. That will help you save a lot of time right there, and you're not running all over the house, because that's what you don't want to do. How about changing the bed linens? Yeah, you could include that with the house cleaning if you want to. Every 2 weeks, that's probably a good time frame. Every week probably be better. So yeah, you can do that. I guess I'd just say, have them out, have the clean linens out, ready to go on the bed when you get up there, and you can strip those off. So yeah, you could probably do that. Well, the other point I want to make here before we move on, where I'm talking about picking up, and this ties in also with the episodes I've done about decluttering and minimalism, is remember that the neater your house is and the less stuff you have in your house, it's going to make it a lot easier to clean. So there's another benefit right there to a minimalist house. It's going to be a lot easier to clean and clean thoroughly, and it's going to take you less time if you don't have so much stuff to work around. So there's a thought there. All right, so now how do we go about actually cleaning the house in a systematic, efficient way where we're not wasting time and wasting steps? Well, pick a starting place. I always use the front door as the starting place. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go clockwise, or that's what I do. It doesn't matter how you go, just go pick a way and go that way. I go clockwise. So I'm going to start in the room where the front door is, and I'm going to clean that room clockwise. I go left to right, and I go top to bottom. Don't forget anything that's in the middle of the room. That's one thing you want to be aware when you're going around in a circle. Make sure you get the middle of the room as well. So you're not wasting space, and you're cleaning everything as you come to it. Well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, I guess, because you're going to take basically 3 trips through the house is the idea. You're going to make 1 trip for cleaning. You're going to make 1 trip for vacuuming, and you're going to make 1 trip for doing any mopping that needs to be done. So 3 trips through the house and you're done, not wasting any steps. So you're going to start in the room you're in. You're going to clean everything in that room, top to bottom. The reason I say top to bottom is you start cleaning up the top and you get knocking dust and whatever, that's going to fall. And so you don't want to make a mess on something you've already cleaned, which again, folks who haven't developed a systematic process, I see them doing that all the time, and then they have to re-clean what they've already cleaned, wasted time. And then the other, top to bottom, you're going to do the floors last, so you can knock all that dust and debris and stuff down to the floor, and that's great. So for most of the rooms, other than the kitchen and the bathroom, mostly what you're doing is dusting. So we already talked about the microfiber cloth and the feather duster. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I just want to make this point before we move on, is that your most important cleaning tool is your eyes. You're going to look, and for 2 reasons. First of all, don't clean what's not dirty. And if people do this, they think, I just have to, but I don't see any dirt on it. Don't clean it. The truth is that most of the vertical surfaces in your home don't get dirty hardly at all. And, your kitchen cabinets are a perfect example. Yeah, you may have some fingerprints around the handles. If that's the only part that's dirty, just clean that part. Yeah, sure, for your deep cleaning. See, I don't even think of deep cleaning. I just think of occasionally as part of the regular cleaning. It's like, yeah, okay, let's get the rest of the cabinets. But most of the time, you probably don't need to. If they're not dirty, don't clean it. Your eyes are going to tell you that. And then the other thing is that using your eyes is going to enable you to focus on the areas that are dirty, even sort of the crevices, and that, because you're looking for the dirt, and when you look for the dirt, you can find it. Don't waste your time cleaning the stuff that's not clean. Clean that stuff that you find. And, that way you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're getting the most clean for the time that you're putting into it. So how do you dust? Well, microfiber cloth, as I mentioned. For anything that you have to move, the idea is to lift, move stuff with one hand and dust with the other hand. So that way you're being very efficient. Again, obviously, when I talked about the minimalist lifestyle, the less objects you have on the flat surfaces in your home, the easier the dusting is going to be. If you've not taken my advice and you do have a lot of items, you can use the feather duster, and you're going to get a pretty good job done with the feather duster. Not as good as you would get by moving every item and using the microfiber cloth, but that trade-off might be worthwhile. The feather duster is also great, of course, for getting things that are out of arm's reach, like some cobwebs, although some you still might not be able to get them with a feather duster. You might need your vacuum, as I mentioned previously. Another couple of areas where I use the feather duster is for your blinds, and you can use the rag there too. You don't want to get into trying to wet wipe your blinds, trust me, especially those plastic Venetian blinds types. You're going to make a bigger mess than you solve by trying to wet wipe those. So again, if you're dusting them regularly, you're probably going to keep them looking good. If it's gotten to the point where they're soiled, they probably need to be replaced, honestly. And your wooden type blinds, you can use your judgment there. Use your cloth or your feather duster as needed. The feather duster is going to be quicker. Maybe most of the time that's going to do good enough, and maybe every so often you go to the microfiber cloth and get it a little more thoroughly. That might be the way to approach that. Another place that I personally like the feather duster is electronic equipment, because I'm always worried that I'm going to damage it by using anything wet on it. So I usually try to just feather dust that, keep up with that to where it doesn't need any extra stronger cleaning there. Next point is going to be, this is what happens when I get off on a tangent and then lose my place on my notes. Well, Cobwebs, I already talked about a little bit. This is just sort of a tip, is that those are the easiest things to miss. So try to get in the habit of scanning the room for cobwebs as you're in the room, because those are easy to miss. They're easy to miss. The other point I wanted to make before we move on, is your baseboards. There's a couple ways you can do that. Well, there's a few ways you can do it. Feather duster, that's maybe not going to get it most of the time. You can get down with your microfiber cloth and go along the baseboard with that. Depending on your house, maybe you don't need to do that every time. Hopefully you don't, because that's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, not tons, but so that's an option. You can also possibly use your vacuum there. Again, be careful not to damage any paint. That's honestly mostly how I do it in my house, is with the vacuum. I click the attachment off, and I use the pole to get the baseboards. Next point is going to be, okay, so as I said, in most of the rooms of the house, dusting is pretty much what you're doing. Break out your general purpose cleaner and your rag if you run across something, on the coffee table. You might have where a cup was sat down, or your dining room table, same thing, kitchen table. So the exceptions to the dusting rule are the bathroom and the kitchen. Those are the areas where you're going to be doing less dusting and more cleaning. So let's talk about the bathroom first. First of all, here's a tip. Have you thought about getting one of those handheld shower attachments? I know Showerpick was the brand back in the day, but that kind that pops off. Okay, first of all, I like those just for showering, because I like to be able to, use that to rinse. But here's the thing. That makes rinsing your shower and tub like 99% easier. So it's great for cleaning. So if you haven't thought about getting one of those, or even if you have but hadn't thought of that benefit, there's another benefit for you. For that is that makes it so much easier to rinse the shower and the tub. Because otherwise what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use that rinse cup that I mentioned before. Remember that? And that takes a lot longer and isn't as effective either, honestly. So what you're going to have to do there is fill that up and then rinse all around. Obviously, again, starting at the top and letting it rinse down. So that's a tip right there. That's worth the price of admission right there. You're probably going to use your scrub pad some more in the bathroom. You might be using that in the shower and in the tub, and definitely I think you're going to be using that in the sink. I hope this would go without saying, you don't want to use it on the toilet. There shouldn't be a reason to use it on the toilet. If you do use it on the toilet, make sure that you have a dedicated scrub sponge, and don't use that, of course, anywhere else. I don't use a scrub sponge on the toilet. I've never run into a situation where I felt like I needed to do that. What else about the bathroom? Your toilet, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to squirt your toilet cleaner. You're going to do the brush. As far as cleaning the outside of the toilet, again, no wasted motions here, or as few as possible. So I start with the toilet closed. I spray the top of the tank. I spray the tank. I spray the top of the seat. Open the seat. Get the bottom of the, not the seat, the lid. Top of the lid, bottom of the lid, top of the seat, bottom of the seat, top of the basin, bottom of the basin. Then I close it and get my cleaning rag and repeat the process. Start from the top and clean to the bottom. Another little tip here, you might as well, while you're down there, use your rag and get like behind and around the toilet, because vacuuming and mopping, you're not going to get in there good. And while you're down there with the rag, you might as well do it. Another tip, so often nowadays the tubs and showers are fiberglass. Again, those are a drag. They're hard to clean, especially if you let them get dirty. So my first tip is, if you've got a fiberglass shower and tub, try not to let it get dirty in the first place. One of those daily shower cleaners can be real helpful here. The brand that I like is called Clean Shower. I'll probably link that up below. I found that to be the most effective. Because the thing is, with the fiberglass, it's easy. If it gets real dirty, I mean, yeah, you could use more stronger cleaning methods, but you're liable to damage the surface, is what I've found. So, and I don't have a good answer for you there. Like, even using a scrub sponge on the fiberglass, I found can cause it to not look right after that. So there's a tip, or a beware. Like I said, the old porcelain is more forgiving in that regard. You can, like, if a porcelain tub, if that gets real bad stained, you can actually use a pumice stick on it and get that looking pretty good. But if you don't do that on fiberglass, that would destroy it, I'm sure. So that's the bathroom. Kitchen. What do I have to say about the kitchen? Definitely If you don't use your scouring powder anywhere else, the kitchen sink is probably where you are going to use the scouring powder. You want to make sure you rinse that really well, and probably then even go over it with a cloth to make sure you get all the scouring powder residue out of there. Another little tip for the kitchen is, and again, make sure it's safe for this. Don't ruin something in your kitchen because I told you to do this. But the dishwasher, it can be a real handy thing for cleaning things in the kitchen that would otherwise be difficult. Like the little plate that goes, or the little glass carousel that goes in your microwave. I wash mine in the dishwasher. I don't have a gas stove, but for those of you who do, some of your stuff off the stove, the grill burner stuff, that might be a lot easier to clean in the dishwasher. Again, make sure that it's dishwasher safe. Don't ruin your stuff. Another good thing to throw in the dishwasher is your dish sponge to disinfect it. Well, not kill, yeah, disinfect. I just used that word. What else about the kitchen? Oh, well, yeah. So I want to talk about granite, and I want to talk about glass top stoves. I've heard so many people say that granite, you have to have some special cleaner, and that you shouldn't use. And the folks who've installed it have said all these different things. And they've said, no, you got to use this specialized cleaner. And I'm sorry, I just think this is marketing. I think they're trying to sell cleaners. And I have never used anything in anybody's kitchen other than a general purpose cleaner degreaser. I found that it does just fine. It does not damage the granite, even though I've had people swear to me that that's going to damage the granite. It doesn't. Now, if there's some kind of granite out there that it does, and you want to tell me that, that's fine, but I haven't run across it yet. The only thing with granite, maybe you might have to go over it twice. Might have to go over it with a glass cleaner to give it that nice, polish or sheen look. Or it might just be that you didn't use enough of the degreaser on it, and it's a greasy film. Could be that. I have not found that any sort of specialized cleaner is necessary for granite, and I've also found that the specialized cleaners don't do as good of a job because they don't cut the grease as well. Another area where I don't think you need a specialized cleaner is your glass ceramic stovetop. And I've never used anything on those other than same thing, cleaner degreaser, maybe a glass cleaner, maybe. And I've used the razor scraper. Again, you want to hopefully, avoid getting the stovetop to the point where you have to use the razor scraper. But I have used it, never damaged one, so your mileage may vary. That's all I've got to say about the kitchen. So we're to vacuuming now, pretty self-explanatory. I've already mentioned you want to have a good canister vacuum that's going to make it easy for you to get all the stuff. I think, most good vacuums are good. They have to have a certain amount of suction power. I think most of them have it, I don't think you're going to get a bad vacuum unless you just get some cheap piece of garbage. I don't know. So I don't have a particular recommendation there. I probably would, because I actually do love the vacuum that I use, but it's hard. Good luck finding them now. It's a European, they always were hard to find. It's a European vacuum, and so I'm not even going to get into that because they're hard to find, parts would be hard to find, etc. I do love mine though. I will say that. It's nice and simple. Mopping would be your next thing. I've already talked about using the Shemop. What do I use to mop with? Well, quite honestly, an ammonia solution, you're not going to beat that. That's a good tough cleaner, and you can make it tougher by using more ammonia, I guess. I hear people talk about vinegar, and I've never understood that. Not just for mopping, but for just general purpose cleaning. People act like vinegar is like some miracle cleaner, and that is like the biggest bunch of horse pucky, because it's not. Because it's not very acidic. Ammonia is much better than vinegar because it's more acidic, and that's, so it's going to break down the dirt and grime better. So yeah, I don't know how vinegar got started. I don't use vinegar for anything. If you're going to use something, use ammonia. I like Mr. Clean too. It smells better than ammonia, and I found that it does a good job as well. So Mr. Clean would be another option on the floors. That is it. This episode has gone long, as I realized it was going to. Didn't realize that until I got into it. But I really do feel like I've given you some benefit here, and I hope you agree. A few more things for our wrap up. The method that I've talked about would be if you're cleaning the house yourself. If you can get a partner to help, obviously that's even better. And you'll sort of figure out how that works. What I've found is if you've got two cleaning, you probably want to have one start on the dusting in the rooms other than the kitchen and the bathroom. You probably want the other person to start on the kitchen, since the kitchen generally takes the longest amount of time. if when you're done, if that person, when that person's done with the kitchen, if the other person is still dusting, then the kitchen person can go to the bathroom. If the dusting person finishes first, they can probably go to the bathroom, the master bath. Because again, that's probably going to take the longest. Any other full baths that you have are probably going to take the next the longest. Half baths aren't going to take that long at all. And so y'all will just sort of share those and, go to the next bathroom that the other person hasn't gotten to, if that makes sense the way I'm explaining that. And then at some point you're going to get to the floors. Whoever gets there first would start vacuuming and, try to time it so they're far enough ahead so that the next person can come behind and mop. Hopefully that made sense. And you'll kind of figure it out as you do that as a team. I've only got one resource to mention other than the cleaning products and tools that I've recommended that I'll link up below, and that is a book called Speed Cleaning by Jeff Campbell. That is honestly where I got 95% of the information in this episode. That's what I used when I started the house cleaning business to develop my tools and techniques, and I've honed those over time, but that would be my only resource. So again, I apologize for this episode running long, but I feel good about it. I feel like I've given you information that's good information. And this is something that, as I said, I've specialized in as a house cleaning business owner for over 10 years. So yeah, I've learned one or two things. So I guess it's not surprising that it's run long. Hopefully the extra time that you spent watching this show or listening to this episode will pay off when it saves you time cleaning your own house. So I hope you found this beneficial. Thank you as always so much for watching the Always Better Challenge show. Until next time, I'm your humble host, Joe Bedford, reminding you to go out there and clean your house and make it happen.